Ready?
Recording in progress.
I would like to call to order the Brentwood Redevelopment Corporation meeting. Secretary, you will call the roll, please.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Here.
Alderwoman Sims? Here. Alderman Plufka?
Here.
Alderman Gould?
Here.
Keith Slesser? Andy Burkemper? Absent. Tony Ponder? Absent.
Oh, Andy's connecting.
Oh, is Andy connecting? Oh, looky there.
So Andy Burkemper is joining us online
Okay.
virtually. And we do have a quorum.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval or amendment of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? The agenda will stand approved as submitted. Approval of the meeting minutes from June 21st, 2023. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Keith Slesser? Andy Burkemper?
Here.
They're approving minutes. And Tony Ponder? Not here. So, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the election of officers. So we have as a board the positions of president, vice president, executive director, secretary, treasurer, and assistant secretary. The last three positions are normally held by city staff. As a refresher, Kelly Sylvie is currently our assistant secretary. The city administrator, Bola Akande, is the secretary treasurer, and the executive director is Whitney Kelly. Then, of course, your current vice president is Alderman Gould, and I am your current president of the board. So with that, we would start with taking nominations for the election. I'm going to go in reverse order. The election of assistant secretary. Are there any nominations?
Second.
Any other nominations?
Close nominations.
Second.
Nominations are closed. Shall we vote on them individually?
If we only get one per, could we vote on them as a slate, or do we have to vote on them individually? I actually don't know the answer to that question. Ola? I'm sorry, if we only get one nominee for each of the positions, can we vote on them as a slate, or do we need to vote on them individually?
Vote on them as a slate.
Okay, so we'll take it until we get a challenged election, and we'll see what happens.
If I may interject,
Yes, please.
I must have missed something. Whitney, do you want to provide clarification on what I missed?
Oh, she had to step out for a second. We're on item 5, the election of the officers.
So we're moving up kind of,
Okay.
yeah. In the tradition that is similar to what the Planning and Zoning Commission does, starting with and working our way up, yeah. All right, so the election of Secretary Treasurer. Are there any nominations for the position of Secretary Treasurer of the board?
Second?
Any other nominations? Seeing none? We're going to move to close nominations again.
I'll make a motion to close nominations.
Nominations are closed. Okay. Election of Executive Director, any nominations? Are there any other nominations for the position of Executive Director?
I move the close of nominations.
What are the nominations for the election of Vice President?
Nominate Jeff Gould.
Second.
That was fast. Are there any other nominations for the position of Vice President?
Motion to close nominations.
Second.
Are there any nominations for the position of President?
Nominate Sherry Boulderback.
Are there any other nominations for the position of president?
Second.
So we have had one nomination per office, the Assistant Secretary, Kelly Sylvie, Secretary Treasurer, Bola Conde, Executive Director, Whitney Kelly, Vice President, Alderman Gould, and President, Sherry Bilderback. We will address these as a slate, and we will do a roll call on it.
Do you want a
Motion to approve.
elect?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I make that motion to elect the nominated candidates for President, Vice President, Executive Director, Secretary Treasurer, and Assistant Secretary.
Second.
Roll call?
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderman Gould,
Yes.
Keith Slesser, Andy Burkemper.
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you and congratulations, everyone. Thank you for your hard work. A lot of the work happens, of course, by the city staff who has 3 of the roles on the board, and we definitely appreciate their support and all the work that they do for the board. Moving on to old business, item 6A, status report on the Brentwood Bound and Destination Playground project. On here. The one that status report on the Brentwood Bound and Destination. This? Oh, it was reversed? Okay. So let's change the order of that then. So
Manchester Corridor.
Manchester Corridor Redevelopment Update is
Joel.
6A.
We'll start with Joel.
Over here, yeah.
Okay. It keeps it mysterious. So I'm here to really answer questions. I give a real quick update. Obviously, the agreement was signed on July 28th, the redevelopment agreement. We have been diligently at work since then on outreach to current owners. So that's really been a lot of the lift to this point. That is going well, I would say. We're continuing to learn more all the time from the work that Jacobs is doing, the FEMA and SEMA information, and how that influences the floodplain and the floodway. Just continues to inform what we're doing as we discuss things with the city. So really more here to answer questions, I think, than that, because I think you all are aware of what we've been doing in the interim. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, or to go into any more detail that you'd like me to.
I would like to echo everything that Joel just said. We have been working collaboratively with Green Street, Joel specifically, and providing updates to the board as they go through the different phases. Just as a reminder, though, Joel, could you go through what you have proposed for Phase 1, Phase 2,
Yeah,
Phase 3 for the others who might be listening?
Absolutely. So leading up to the final council meeting where this was approved, so what you see on the screen was presented at the July 5th meeting. This is attached as the approved concept plan in the redevelopment agreement with the city. Brentwood is on plan left, Hanley on plan right. So phase 1 begins with the kind of long linear building on the south side and the smaller commercial building on the north side. That is now a destination entertainment location that is shown in this linear building. H, the green building, is still a hotel as was contemplated. Next to that is still the parking structure that has 2 first-floor food and beverage uses. The yellow, I call it funny-shaped building because I'm not sure what geometric shape that is. Building is still the age-restricted 55-plus multifamily building. The 2 orange buildings, I'm not sure if you can see the numbering, R7 and R8, are still commercial buildings along here with the 3 condominium buildings with a total of 30 units behind it. Then on the north side, the 4 buildings that are shown are still commercial retail buildings. So that is phase 1 up into this second roundabout that is here. Yeah, absolutely.
Joel, per the agreement, you do have to contact everyone in that area, all the business owners, correct, by a certain deadline?
Yeah, so we, after we signed the agreement with the city, we reached out, I believe the number is that there are 72 total parcels in the entire redevelopment footprint. I believe that's around 55-ish kind of distinct owners of those parcels. That's not exact, but it's around there. We mailed certified letters to all of those owners. That was probably about a month ago. All but one of those was successfully delivered, which is fantastic. We were very happy with that. Per the agreement, we had 60 days to send out initial offers to the owners in phase 1, which would be in a couple days here. Yeah, it'd be in 2 days. So that's ongoing now.
Any temperature reading yet?
I mean, a lot of conversations are going on. I wouldn't think there's anything that's kind of demonstratively telling. You know, I think that as we start to hear back from people after that first round, we'll know a little bit more. So
Okay, thank you.
it's been a Herculean effort to this point. So it's a lot of sellers.
For phase 1, in your conversations with Jacobs, is everything seem, that you put in the concept plan seem doable without being majorly affected, or do you see any adjustments that need to be made?
Yeah,
because
so I
of
think,
that?
you know, the biggest learning curve really for current owners has been, you know, rightfully so, this is all very complicated and technical, is that I think there was some thought that people had that the work done to the creek just automatically meant buildings were no longer in the floodplain or in the floodway. That's obviously not true. There are buildings that weren't in the floodplain or floodway before by a little bit, but there are many, many structures that still have to be raised up several feet to be out of the floodplain or the floodway. So that's been a learning exercise. You know, we're working with the data from Jacobs and Woods, SEMA and FEMA as we get it, right, to kind of inform what we're doing to really understand the topography of what's there. So I wouldn't say there's any huge shifts in what we're doing. We're just kind of evaluating it every time we learn a little more information. Just, it's one thing to put blocks on a page. It's another thing to have things that are actually constructible, right, in an effective way. And that's kind of real-time information, so.
And just for anyone who might be listening to this, just explain the difference between the rights to be able to build within a floodway versus a floodplain. Just to clarify what you were kind of speaking
so
to.
a floodplain, boy, I don't say this wrong. A floodplain, you cannot change topography. A floodway, you can. So things that are, there's different extents that are
Which I
kind
think
of
it might be the flip.
backwards,
Yeah,
right?
you
There
got that
It's a long day. Don't have a picture in front of me. So those extents are all set, but they're not finalized yet, which is part of what we have to always kind of iteratively figure out. I mean, you know, in the southeast corner, for instance, where this last multifamily building is shown, has obviously evolved significantly from the initial plan because we didn't originally know where MSD was putting those facilities that are there now. So it's very much kind of reactive and real time to what we're able to do and where we're able to do it. So.
Great, thank you.
But we believe that's all on track as far as we know. Really, the flood scope is what dictates timing, so.
Any other questions from the board?
So our team will reach out separately. You know, it was really by sending things certified, right? There's people who can just choose to not accept it or to not sign it, or it could be a bad address. Really, it's just an easy way to track that have good contact information. So we have a team of 3 people that's what they're doing, is handling that outreach to those folks.
Make sure your mic is on.
If you have 2 days to get an offer to them and you haven't spoken to them yet, I guess how is that?
They weren't in phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 60 days is phase 1. Good question, though.
Any other questions from the board? While we're at it, Bola, did you have something?
Mark Grimm is also online, and so he's been asked to attend the meeting tonight to provide a summary of the incentives that
Okay.
the city gave whenever the committee's ready to take that on.
Do you want me to disconnect this thing? Need this, or you want me to turn it off? Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Joel. So are we ready for Mr. Grimm? Okay. The floor is yours.
Are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Well, good evening. The incentive package has not changed from what was previously discussed, but just make sure that everybody is on the same page, that it consists of a combination of partial real property tax abatement, sales tax exemption on construction materials, as well as a community improvement district, sales tax and special assessment, and a transportation development district sales tax. So I'll provide a little bit more detail. So there, as you will recall, the original proposal was for 10 years of partial real property tax abatement. As you know, with any transaction, there's a lot of discussions about what are the terms of the deal, what is the developer offering, what's the city providing, how are the and costs continue to evolve throughout the process, and so there was an extensive negotiation of the redevelopment agreement over a pretty lengthy period, and so. As it evolved, there were a number of conversations between the city and the developer, as well as other stakeholders, including the school district, and so the terms of the abatement evolved and throughout that period. And gosh, Joe, I don't want to. Joey, if you have this off the top of your head, I didn't know that Bolo actually was going to call on me to give this presentation on the specifics of the abatement. So give me one moment here. I want to make sure I don't misstate this.
And no problem.
Okay, give me 1 second here to pull up the redevelopment agreement.
Yeah, the terms of the abatement mark are 75% on the multifamily for the first 10, and then 50% for the second 10, 50% on the commercial for the full 20.
Thank you. When I made the presentation to the Board of Aldermen, I got those reversed, and so I wanted to. That's what I couldn't remember which is which.
It's tattooed on my forearm, so.
Yeah. Okay. So in addition to the property tax abatement, as mentioned, the city is going to provide sales tax exemption on construction materials through a program implemented under Chapter 100 of the Missouri statutes. And the city Brentwood has not done this previously, but this has been done hundreds of times throughout the state of Missouri. It's a way to provide to lower the cost of construction on various projects by issuing industrial revenue bonds to the developer. The city has no financial liability on that or any other aspect of this transaction. The big project that is in the news lately involving industrial revenue bonds is the Boeing project, which includes partial real and personal property tax abatement, but also includes the same incentive of sales tax exemption on construction materials. So that will be provided. As I mentioned, it's also will be a community improvement district and a transportation development district, each of which will impose a 1% sales tax. And of course, the city has other community improvement districts and transportation development districts. And then the community improvement district also will impose a special assessment, which basically allows the developer to securitize the property tax abatement. So imagine if property taxes are abated on a parcel and then a special assessment is imposed on that same parcel equal to the abated taxes, then the revenue stream from that special assessment can then be turned in, securitized is the term of art, but turned into a bond issue, utilized by a bond issue to generate upfront revenues for the developer to reimburse for and pay for project costs. And the same structure was used in connection with the hotel on Hanley. That, as you'll recall, had a 353 property tax abatement and a community improvement district special assessment. So that's a pretty quick summary, but be happy to answer any questions.
Any addition to the presentation by the city staff? Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing none, I also note that we don't have any members of the general audience here other than
There's
folks
no one online.
who are here to speak and no one online. So therefore, there won't be any public comment because there's no public here. So with that, I think we're ready to move to the next agenda item. So the next agenda item is 6B, and it is status report on the Brentwood Bound and Destination Playground project.
Chairman,
Yes.
we do have a hand raised online from Karen Smith.
Okay, great. So we'll pause there and we will go back to agenda item 6A. It's the beauty, I mean, it's great that we're doing virtual and in person, but sometimes it takes a little while to get all of it to come through. And so we like to make sure we're as accessible as possible to everyone in the city who's not able to attend in person. So with that, Karen Smith, would you like to ask a question, make a comment, and state your name and address for the record, please?
Karen Smith on Harrison. I really have no comments. I just wanted to let you know that I was here. When you said that there was nobody online, I just wanted to find out if you all were picking that up. So thanks.
Great. We appreciate that, and we're really glad that you're here. So we have a member of the public officially. That makes me very happy personally. So thank you. All right. So now we're ready to go to item 6B. And our presenter has gotten up like 3 times now, and we thank you for your patience. And I'm sure that it's worth the wait that we've had to hear from you. So
no problem. The worst part is I forgot my phone each time, so I didn't get to count my steps.
And if you would go ahead and introduce yourself and your position and why you're here.
I'm Eric Gernfeld. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation, and I'm giving a quick update on Brentwood Bound. I know a lot of this is probably stuff that you guys already know, but we just kind of, since we're here, Brentwood Bound obviously has been a project been going on for the last few years. It was obviously addressed the flooding issues in Brentwood, especially on Manchester Road, and really to kind of get the Manchester Road corridor out of the 100-year floodplain. This kind of looks about before what it used to look like. This is what it's almost looking like these days. So we're really close and real excited about where we're at right now. I mean, the best part is we've opened up the park. We opened that up in June and had a wonderful grand opening, and trails are being heavily used. But there's still work going on. So in Manchester Road, the project is substantially complete. KCI, the contractor, did that from MoDOT, but they're still working on their punch list and final completion items. Things like the drainage down into the tunnel, that was something that we discussed with them. The mid-block crossings, I know that was a question, so they're looking at that as well. And so those are the items they're still kind of working on to kind of complete that. Phase 1 and Phase 2 I'll take together because they're both done the same contractor. Basically substantially complete again, working on just the final punch list items. A lot of those, all of those are related to landscaping. So making sure everything's coming in and being done properly. So that's kind of where we're on and those things. The park, the event lawn and conversation has been completed. We are, is finally complete. We're in a warranty item. So if you see anyone out there right now, it's working on warranty issues. We've had some weather stripping issues with the nano wall, so we've been on top of the contractor to make sure those get completed. We're working on the bioretention basin. It's holding a little bit more water than we think, so we were out there yesterday doing some tests. So all of that's related to warranty issues, and so we're in a good place there. GRG connector part A. That's basically from where MoDOT finished on the tunnel all the way through the park, almost to Brentwood Boulevard. Also got complete. So we are done with that. They're in their 1-year landscape maintenance period. So again, you'll see Ideal Contracting out there mowing, pulling weeds and doing that. So they'll be out there until the end of next May, early June, maintaining, doing the landscape maintenance throughout that area. GRG connector part B. This is equally exciting for us. We've out to bid. Bids are due Thursday morning. So we'll be bringing those, I think, to the board in early October. That is the connection going from Brentwood Boulevard down to Marshall and includes the Russell Trail going all the way across the street to Manchester, or to the Brentwood Sports Complex. Most importantly for me is that opens up the main entrance to the park off of Brentwood Boulevard. So we'll have to phase that project because we still have to deal with Union Pacific. That's been the biggest holdup, is Union Pacific's timeline is their timeline. You can't get them to move any quicker or slower. Well, slower, yes. Quicker, no. But so the phasing will be to get the main entrance open, and then to get the work on Russell Boulevard and down to Marshall, and then MoDOT will do the signal at Brezu and Russell, and UP with the railroad improvements will be phase 2. That will be the stuff that kind of ties up in late fall, early spring. So, but we did write into the contract that the entrance had to be open by the end of March. So that way, for the next park season, our street will be open. Destination Playground.
Before you go there, could you just, for the benefit of the public, explain what a GRG connector is? Like, we all know, but.
Sorry, we talked about this so long. So GRG is the Great Rivers Greenway. One of the 3 prongs of the Brentwood Bound was to connect to Great Rivers Greenway, and there are hundreds of miles of trails throughout St. Louis County. It's a wonderful part to be able to connect. You connect to Marshall, you get on the Grants Trail, you get all the way downtown to St. Louis, and get on the Mississippi River Trail. Once they connect other connections, you'll be able to go out to the Katy Trail, and basically in a generation, you'll be able to get on your bike in Brentwood and go all the way to the Mississippi, go north to Minnesota, south to New Orleans, east and west. It's going to be wonderful. I could go a lot further, but that is the big reason about connecting with GRG.
Thank you.
The Destination Playground, hopefully you guys have been noticing the work going in. The best part for me is the overlook. It is wonderful. I've gotten to go up on it a few times. The view is breathtaking. It is amazing. And so that is wrapping up the next couple months. So hopefully we'll be done. We continue to think it's going to be late November, December. If we have any weather, any other delays, that might push it into the new year. But we're excited. Most likely, if we do get some delays, landscaping will be done in the spring. So we'll probably do a ribbon cutting at some point when we can open it up, especially to the kids, because a nice day in January, people wanting to be out there, and we'll do a larger grand celebration in the spring. So that's kind of where we're at. And the schedule is kind of the stuff we've already talked about. So we're looking to be, the big thing is Deer Creek Connector Part B. And so we're really looking at the end of 24, early 25 to being completely done with all the projects within Brentwood Bound. Again, you'll still see contractors in there, warranty issues, landscaping agreements, and then we'll have a year in all the landscaping. So if there is any dead trees or plants, we'll have contractors come back in and replace those. So you'll still see a lot of contractors in there over the next year, but it should be done, and hopefully people are enjoying it already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bola, anything else you'd like to add? Any questions or comments? Alderman Plufka?
Thanks. You'd expressed some concern with regard to the possibility of erosion along the creek bed near Sycamore Trail, about halfway down. I know I could say like area 59, I think is the area. Any more thought about whether or not we'll need to add rock to that or something to shore that up?
That is still part of the punch list items that we're discussing with Al Keeley, the contractor. So I think we need to finish those discussions, and once we have a better indication of what those discussions will be, if the city needs to make any adjustments, we will.
And then the other question I had is, I know you haven't had much weather to test it, but it seems as though the underpass is cleaned up and is staying cleaned up, and that the drains are actually working. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, when we've had a couple heavy rains early on, we noticed some water. Thankfully, Alderman Gould and I are actually out there in the same night, just passed by different hours and things like that. So we're out there watching it. I think those were some of the things in the punch list with KCI. If you've been down there, they've already installed a concrete swale into one drain. They're doing it with another drain, working on some of the grades to make sure that it flows properly. You know, it will always have a little bit of water, some port of water, but I think I'm excited about where we're at and the fact that we're not seeing as much water as I think people were afraid of when we first started talking about this project.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by the board?
If you guys can hear me, Eric, I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about what the signal will be crossing Brentwood Boulevard. Is it just a pedestrian signal or is it an actual traffic signal?
No, that was one of the big, I think a really big win that the city got with, or was able to work with MoDOT. That will be a signal. It'll be a four-way stoplight. And that way we'll have a nice pedestrian crossing there, stoplight driven. We'll have a left-hand turn out of the park onto Brentwood Boulevard, so we'll be able to go left, straight, and right easily at a light. I wish it would be quicker, but MoDOT has to wait for UP to get done with their improvements before they can put the light in. So that's going to be the delay on the light. Until then, we'll put up temporary stop signs at Brazos to make sure people understand what's going on. But at least it will be open from Brentwood Boulevard.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, we're good to move on to the next agenda item. New business, economic development sales tax, income statement, and Brentwood bound financial update.
So this is new. In the past, we haven't typically provided any kind of financial report to the Redevelopment Board Corp during the annual meeting. But since we happen to have that information, having just completed the audit and going into the budget season for fiscal year 24, we thought we would just go ahead and share this information with you. One of the highlights of this, let me pull it up. There always was the understanding by the Board of Aldermen that the way the city would service the debt for the first 2018 COPS was from existing revenue from general fund, capital improvement sales tax, stormwater parks improvement sales tax, and proceeds from any interest that is generated. So I want to share with you the percentages that the city is using to service the 2018 COPS. From the general fund, 25% of that revenue goes towards the servicing of the debt. For the capital improvement, 49% of that goes towards servicing the debt. And for stormwater, another 25% goes towards servicing the 2018 COPS. And as you know, the economic development sales tax fully services the 2019 COPS debt. So just wanted to share that information with you. And okay, then I'll do it. In board docs, we have two documents. One is a report which is called the Brentwood Bound Update that Craig Schluter typically presents to the Board of Aldermen at their regular monthly meetings. And the total budget for the project is $98,745,658. Total budget for the project. And we've been talking about how successful this project has been, in that we have had multiple partners throughout the region who have provided grants and assistance to help the city fund this project to the degree of what you all are seeing. So some of our partners have been Missouri Department of Transportation, GRG, Great Rivers Greenway, the Uni Grant Program, Great Rivers Habitat Alliance, MSD, West Gateway Grant, 319 grant from the state. We've also had significant partnership from businesses in the area, particularly the West Community Credit Union, to the tune of 400,000. And then there's investment of proceeds in the fund balance that isn't being used to service the debt. So on a positive note, revenues are good. We're servicing the debt without any issues. And the project, as Eric indicated to you, is moving right along.
Alderman Plufka.
I just had a question about, maybe it's just the way you use the term that I don't quite understand. 100% of the $3.8 million from the economic development sales tax is being used to service the debt on the COPs.
Right.
Then you said something like 25% of our fund balance, or did you mean 25% of the remaining debt?
No, 25% of the revenue from that particular fund that I mentioned is being used to service the debt for the 2018 COPS, not the 2019.
Okay, but did you say that the general fund?
Not fund balance.
No.
No, it's revenue coming in.
Stormwater?
Exactly. Stormwater.
Stormwater fund, which is dedicated fund, and then what was the third fund you
Capital.
mentioned? Okay. All right. And so what is the overall debt service?
For the 2018 COPS?
Yeah, for this
What,
next year.
what that payment is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's at least 3 million. It's at least, we don't know it off the top of our head. It's at least 3 million.
I remembered it
We
being
can-
like in the 3.6 to 3.8.
Right. You're,
So the lion's share of it is being retired by, the lion's share of the money owed on the certificates of participation that we issued is being serviced by the economic development sales tax.
so there's two different debts. There's the 2018, which is
Right.
about
We issued
39.
2 different years.
And then there's the 2019, which is about 40 million. So 100% of the 2019 is being serviced by the economic development sales tax.
Okay.
Then those three different percentages that I mentioned, for general fund, capital, and storm, are servicing the debt for the 2018 COPS.
Combination of 2018 and 2019 debt service is,
Oh, that would probably be like 6 million. We can confirm that number, hopefully before the meeting is over, and share it with you.
well, it doesn't need to
But,
be before the meeting.
yeah.
I've also just received the budget, and so I was looking through that, and I was
Yeah.
trying to make sense of that as
I
well.
will be able to give you page number
Okay,
that has
thank you.
that in there.
I
I
don't mean
just
to
don't
take up the
remember it
time
off
of
the
the
top of
meeting.
my head.
Thank you. That's fine.
Debt service is important, Alderman Lockmuller.
Well, under the economic development sales tax, we're looking at a fund balance at the end of last year of about a little over $4 million sitting in fund balance. Is that money invested?
It is. Yes, it is being invested by the city's investment advisor, Brad Lukens with AMG. You know, we went through a request for proposal or request for qualification to select him, and so he's investing those proceeds for the city.
Thank you.
There are questions or comments by the board? Anything else to be added by city staff?
No.
Any questions or comments by the public? Seeing none, we are ready to move on to the next agenda item, which is other business, scheduling our next meeting date.
Hey, Madam Chair, if I may, Bola, I've got that information on the debt service if you'd like for me to share it.
Please.
Yeah, so there's 2017, 18, and 19. The 2017 debt burns, which was for the fire station, burns off in 2030. So but they're all secured by the same facility. So, but the 2018 and 2019 add up to about 4.9 million debt service per year.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark.
In the early years, and then when the 2017 goes away, it jumps up to about 5.7. So all of the debt is about, so 17, 18, 19, all of it stays pretty level at 5.7 million. But Bola was referring to 18 and 19. So those are 4.9. Then in 2030, when the 17 rolls off, then there's an increase in actually the 18 and 19 piece. So up to that 5.7 total level.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
great,
Sure.
thank you. So with that, we'll go ahead and continue on to our scheduling the next meeting discussion. Whitney?
Yes, it is recommended, we've made a suggestion that for the annual meeting date for 2024 would be September 24th, 2024, so.
Works for me too. If I've got time, make some adjustments if I have to.
Funny. You can change your schedule now, like a year out, it'd be okay. All right, so everybody good with September 24th, 6 PM, same location?
We usually have maybe another meeting also. That's just our annual meeting, but will we just wait till we receive
Correct.
direction from you all whether or not we need to convene on anything?
If there's another redevelopment proposal, we would like some more.
Right.
We're bored.
Right.
I did not say that. I know
Joke,
you're
everybody.
listening.
Is Joel has a heart attack in the country.
If another proposal comes, then we'll call for a meeting, but other than that, it's the annual meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. So our next annual meeting is scheduled for September 24th, 2024. All right. Yes. I was thinking the same thing. Okay, great. Ed, I took comments as we went along, but officially, are there any citizen comments?
No one has their hand raised.
Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
All right.
Stand adjourned.